Hello everyone, welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and this is another March Mystery Madness video. In today's video I am going to compare hard-boiled mysteries with cozies. And it is a very interesting topic. But first, here is the answer. Here is the answer to yesterday's My March Mystery Madness Mindbender. The clue was, this immensely popular series about a black detective in Washington, D.C. have nursery rhyme titles for the first half of the series and titles which play on the main character's name for the second half. And the answer is the Alex Cross series by James Patterson. I don't have a copy of these books to show you, so I'm going to insert pictures here. And I've got one for each of those, one for the nursery rhyme titles and one for a title that plays on his name. And that is a long-running series, and I've read all of them. They're not bad. I'm starting to tire, I think, a little bit, but yeah, they're pretty good. So stay tuned to the end of the video for the next My March Mystery Madness Mindbender. But for right now, let's get into a comparison of hard-boiled mysteries with cozies. A hard-boiled mystery is a detective story featuring a tough, unsentimental protagonist and a matter-of-fact attitude toward violence. And so there are a lot of books that are in this subgenre, let's call it, of the mystery genre. The detectives are often anti-heroes. Here are some examples of famous detectives in this hard-boiled subgenre. Philip Marlowe, Mike Hammer, Sam Spade, Lou Archer, the Continental Op. The heyday of the hard-boiled mystery was the 1930s to the 1950s in America. It was popularized by Dashiell Hammett. Other authors that are famous in the hard-boiled genre are John D. MacDonald, Sue Grafton, Ross MacDonald, Walter Mosley, Sarah Paretsky, Robert B. Parker, and Mickey Spillane. These books are related to noir, and yet they are a different subgenre to noir. So what are some of the characteristics of a hard-boiled mystery? Earthy realism, vivid urban settings, fast-paced plot, slangy dialogue, often a PI with a strong code of honor. They are commonly told in the first person. They describe things, not feelings. They're not overly sentimental. In early books, of course, the protagonist was always male. And that changed, and you've got some very famous hard-boiled books like the Kinsey Millhone ones by Sue Grafton and also the books by Sarah Paretsky. In a hard-boiled book, the quest is more important than the solution, which is often unsatisfactory. And the protagonist is often a loner and usually pessimistic. Cozies, on the other hand, are a subgenre of the mystery genre where sex and violence are downplayed or treated humorously, and the crime takes place in a small, socially intimate community. And again, there are a ton of cozy mysteries out there. Cozy mysteries have been around for a while, but I think they really started to fly in the 90s, I think. Some characteristics of cozy mysteries. They are gentle. There is no graphic violence, no profanity, no explicit sex. The crime often takes place off stage, and it's usually a quick death. They are usually set in small towns or villages. There's most often an amateur sleuth, and it is peopled with normal, everyday characters. The crime is solved, So there's a big difference right away there with hard-boiled, where often the solution is unsatisfactory. In cozies, the crime is always solved. In hard-boiled mysteries, the setting is most often urban, and in cozies, the setting is most often a small town or village. The protagonist is often a woman in a cozy, and again, like I said already, in hard-boiled, it is often a male, but not always anymore, but still often a man. The protagonist often has a connection to the detective in order to propel the story forward. Obviously, they need to have some kind of a connection to the detective or the police officer or the medical examiner or something. It's going to be like a husband or a cousin or a boyfriend or something like that. The victim is often unlikable. The emphasis is on puzzle solving over suspense. And the motive for the crime always makes sense. And the tone is upbeat, optimistic, and lighthearted. So you can see already that there are drastic differences between hardcover books and cozies. And a lot of times it's the tone that is usually what gets people to decide one or the other. The tone in a hard-boiled is pessimistic and dark, where the tone in a cozy is always light and optimistic. So I am going to compare some covers here next, because I think that is such a great way to show the differences between hardcovered and mysteries and cozy mysteries. But first, I thought I should highlight the fact that there are actually some similarities between hardcover, hard-boiled, and cozy mysteries, because there are so many differences, obvious differences, that you can miss the similarities. Both genres use everyday protagonists. So it is extremely rare for there to be a professional, a police officer or something to be the protagonist. Both of them tend to use everyday protagonists, everyman protagonists. Both have protagonists with a strong moral code and a desire for justice, even though that looks very different. How that protagonist plays out that strong moral code and desire for justice looks very different, but they both still have it. And in both genres, the reader knows exactly what they're getting. There is a definite form to both of these books that the reader generally knows and expects in their books, and will be very disappointed if they do not find that form in their book. So here are some covers, and I probably will not even need to tell you, which is which, okay? Cozy, hard-boiled, right? Pretty obvious. This one is a twofer, so I'm just going to flip it upside down to do a reveal. So this is Walter Mosley, and this book isn't necessarily one of his hard-boiled ones, but my husband had it, and so I thought I would hold it up. The first cozy that I showed you was the Royal Spyness series from Rhys Bowen, which is quite good. I quite enjoy it. And this is an Agatha Raisin, The Walkers of Dembley by M.C. Beaton. So I've only shown a few, and you can already see what the differences are and how it is pretty easy to point out which is the cozy and which is the hard-boiled. This is John D. MacDonald's A Purple Place for Dying, and this is Mrs. Malory and the Death in the Family by Hazel Holt. Another John D. MacDonald, this is Deadly Welcome, and you get some classic hard-boiled stuff here, which is a lady on the cover. And in this case, she's clothed, but it is so common to have naked ladies on the covers of hard-boileds. So, yeah. And this is Emily Brightwell's Mrs. Jeffries series. This is Mrs. Jeffries Stalks the Hunter. Now, you're going to see a lot from this hard case crime series. They have put out a bunch of books in the hard-boiled tradition, and they all look like this with the hard case crime logo up here. This is Stephen King's Joyland. Again, lady on the cover, she's clothed, but barely. And then this is Hannah Dennison's Vicky Hill exclusive from her Vicky Hill series. Ta-da! Now, this one also has a lady on the cover, but very different from the ladies that you see on Hard Boiled. This is Picture Miss Seeton by Heron Carvic, and the Miss Seeton series is great. She is an elderly amateur sleuth, and she is fantastic. This is Michael Crichton writing as John Lange, Drug of Choice. Here you go. Death on Demand by Carolyn G. Hart. This is a great cozy series about a girl who moves to Rowards Rock, which is an island just off the coast in the United States, I think in Florida, and she opens a mystery bookstore. Fantastic. And this is Michael Crichton writing as John Lange, and his, it's called Binary. You will be unsurprised, I'm sure, to hear that all the cozies are my books and all the hard boils are my husband's books. Which, you know, whatever. This is Kate Kingsbury's Wedding Rows from her Manor House series, which are historical cozies set during World War II in England. And this is Michael Crichton writing as John Lange, again, odds on. Now, so you will notice right away with comparing these covers that there are a few things that are, you can see right away that when you see a cover of a hard-boiled or of a cozy, you know what it is right away. Cozies are, you know, often have lighter colors in them. They often have flowers or gentler pictures on them. This is Evan Can Wait by Rhys Bowen. Now, this is an interesting one because it is definitely a cozy. However, the protagonist is the police officer in the small Welsh village. So it is one of the only instances where the protagonist is male and he's a police officer. Another popular series that is like this is the Hamish Macbeth series by M.C. Beaton. And then finally, Dorothy Cannell, The Importance of Being Ernestine. This is the Ellie Haskell series. I quite enjoy this series. And both of these books highlight something else that is very common in cozies, and that's punny titles. I am not really attracted to the punny titles, but a lot of people are. They love them, and they are super common in a cozy. So The Importance of Being Ernestine is, of course, a playoff of Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest. And Evan Can Wait, of course, is a playoff the phrase Heaven Can Wait. And then the final hard-boiled that I wanted to show you was this one. This is another hard case crime. This is Ariel S. Winter, The 20-Year Death. Now, one thing I noticed different from a lot of the other hard-boileds is the size of this book, but that's because there are essentially 3 novels in one in this story. And even though I don't tend to read a lot of hard-boiled, this one intrigued me, and I think I might actually give it a whirl. There has never been a book like this one, a breathtaking first novel written in the form of 3 separate crime novels, each set in a different decade and penned in the style of a different giant of the mystery genre. So interesting. So the first book is 1931. The body found in the gutter in France led the police inspector to the dead man's beautiful daughter and to her hot-tempered American husband. and that is written in the style of Georges Simenon and his Maigret novels. 1941, a hard-boiled private eye hired to keep a movie studio's leading lady happy uncovers the truth behind the brutal slaying of a Hollywood starlet. And that is in the style of Chandler, Raymond Chandler. And then 1951, a desperate man pursuing his last chance at redemption finds himself with blood on his hands and the police on his trail. And that is in the style of Jim Thompson. This book came out in, let me see, 2012. So I am interested, I would read it. I find that premise really intriguing. So there you go. That's our comparison of hard-boiled versus cozies. Which do you prefer? Because generally speaking, they are different enough that usually you will have a cozy person or a hard-boiled person. So which one are you? Do you tend toward hard-boileds or do you tend toward the cozies? Now, this is the next My March Mystery Madness Mindbender. This book in the Dr. K. Scarpetta series is named after a real-life research facility that studies decomposition in a variety of settings. Extra points! We aren't doing points, but let's do it anyway. Extra points if you can give that facility its full name. So put your answers in the comment section down below. Let me know if you've read any of these hard-boileds or cozies, what your favorites are, and I'll see you again tomorrow for another March Mystery Madness video. Bye!